Good, Greg. Good to see you, man. Yeah, thanks for swinging by. Oh, we're so excited, man.
What's in store for PS Audio and how they're all going to fit in there. Got the guys ready. The doors in about 30 seconds. Like I say, James is at the other door. And the doors are It has to be 100 people. That's exciting. I'm gonna have to squish in. I don't know, I think we got a bottleneck right now. That's okay. A lot of people will come back later, I don't blame them.
Oh my goodness. Hey. How we doing? Good. Thank you everybody for coming. I recognize a lot of faces in here, and that's good. And I want you to know this is going to be a big event, and the reason that you're going to know that is because I have new shoes. What do you think? The debut of my shoes, and that's what we're all here to talk about today. And I picked them out myself, though wife approved. So we're going to unveil something today. I'm going to try and make this not too long, but long enough to try and explain what the heck's going on. And I want to start out by telling you a little bit of a story. So about 40 years ago, we asked a pretty important three-word question. We asked it quite a lot. And that question is it possible? And 40 years ago, I asked my engineer at the time, as we looked at this new thing called a CD player. That was the first time we'd ever seen anything like it. And on the back was a little RCA jack that had digital audio coming out of it. And I said, is it possible that we could take that and do something with it externally and come up with an audio signal? And he and I worked on that for probably 6 months, figured out it actually was possible. And the result of that is we introduced the world's first external high-end audio DAC. We only had exclusivity for about 3 months, but that's okay. We were there and we figured it out. Move forward about, 30 years. And my son, Scott, who's here somewhere, he came to me and he said, is it possible to take all this stuff, all of it, the wires, the boxes, everything, and condense it down into a little box about the size of a novel and play the stereo? And I said, yeah, it's possible, but hard. And so he worked on it for, God, how long? A couple of years? Couple of years. And what came out was Sprout. And Sprout was revolutionary at the time. It was the size of a novel and it drove the entire system. I remember when Scott had me put it on the Infinity IRS 5s. And we played it in that little tiny box, and that was just kind of a cool thing. So about 5 years ago, we started asking a different three-word question. Instead of asking, is it possible, we started asking, what would happen if? And one of those questions that we started coming up with is something I've been working on for a long time. What would happen if we built the ultimate chassis? What would happen and what would it look like? That ultimate chassis, in my view, would be multiple chassis. There'd be an inside chassis, there'd be an outside chassis. We'd be able to keep all the noise out and any of the noise inside, we would be able to have the 1.5 inch thick chunk of metal all sculptured on the front. So we'd be, and could we make that in the United States at a price that would not cost a Rolls Royce? And at the time, the answer was no, couldn't do it. But we started asking more about if that was, not if it was possible, but what would it look like? What would happen? And then about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, Darren Myers, and I got to tell you just a little quick story about Darren. Darren Myers is a great engineer. He used to work at Class A, and he said, he wrote me a note and he says, I want to work for a company that is caring about sound. I want to work for a company that actually cares about how things sound. And can I get a job with you? I said, nope. We don't have an opening. And he said, I'll come be a tech, I'll wash dishes, I'll do whatever. So Darren came in as a summer, and then he moved to Boulder from Canada, came in, and we just fell in love with Darren. He was just such a bright kid. And before you know it, Darren was coming to me and he was saying, now we switched from Darren being a tech to Darren being an engineer. And Darren came to me and he said, what would happen if I were to come up with a preamplifier, and I know a lot of you have guessed, that challenged the laws of physics? I said, okay, I like where you're going. And he said, I'm imagining a preamplifier that has such low harmonic distortion and noise that it exceeds 150 dB, which is almost the level of a single molecule of air hitting your eardrum. What would happen if I could do that? And what would happen if that also had an extended bandwidth out to beyond a megahertz? And I said, after we had you checked into the lunatic asylum, we'd be interested to hear how that sounded. And then he said, well, and then here's another thought. What if I was able to create a phono stage that had no feedback whatsoever, zero, because you know, like I know, that the problem with phono stages is that any amount of feedback starts clouding up the signal. You get it more two-dimensional. And he said, the ultimate would be zero feedback, no feedback whatsoever. And I said, but how are you going to keep the distortion and the noise down? He goes, I got an idea. So then you put that into your pipe, and then this guy right here, Doug Goldberg, I don't know how many of you know Doug Goldberg. Doug used to be the director of engineering at a little company called Northrop Grumman. And they make these invisible planes, and I don't know, all the stuff that he'd have to kill me.
I've tried a few times.
Yeah, I know. And he said, what would happen if you rethought the direct stream DAC? What would happen if you took the concept of converting everything over to DSD, but then from that point did things in a very different way, in a way that would bring amazing measurements and amazing sound, direct coupled, no transformers, none of that. So what would you think about that? I said, I think that would be pretty amazing. So Doug and our chief engineer, Bob Stadther, got together and they started plotting. And then all of a sudden, we had a whole group of things and this new idea for a chassis that I went to, and this is the final part of the story, our purchasing manager, and I said, what would happen if I tasked you with coming up with, and I detailed this chassis out to him. I said, could you figure out a way to make that in the United States? Could you figure out a way to get this thing actually built without breaking the bank? And he went to town and he figured it out. So, put all that together. Oh, and then the last part of the story. I went to our, and we figured the whole thing out, right? So I went to our engineering manager, Barry, and I said, hey Barry, what if I walked in your door and said, what would you think about us completely revamping the entire source control line, doing a whole bunch of products all at once and come out with it in completely new form factor, all new circuits, all new boards, all new software? And he said, I'd basically kill myself. And I said, good. So gave him a knife and said, go for it. And this was a couple of years ago, this whole thing kind of coalesced. And what it resulted in is an entirely new line of products that is right here, and there it is. So this is the PMG series. I got convinced that I should put my name on the product. And I felt strange about it at first, but at the end of the day, it does encompass everything I have ever wanted, ever dreamed about in products. And I want to go over briefly, let's see if we can get, I want to show you, maybe, Scott, could you bring, yeah, the preamp? I want to show you what we did inside, because the first product, the preamp, is really something extraordinary. That preamp literally has the lowest harmonic distortion and noise, I think, of anything else ever built. It is better than 150 dB down, which is, as Doug will tell you, 150 dB is pretty extraordinary. It's a logarithmic scale. There you go, and you can see this is the chassis within the chassis. So that we've kind of taken it apart. And if you look inside, see the caps in there? So one of the things that Darren Myers did is he said, why do we need electrolytics in the power supply? For years, we've used electrolytic capacitors in the power supply, and we know that electrolytics are not the best performers. And to make them better, we put little things called bypass caps on them because they don't have very good high frequency performance. So Darren said, why are we doing that at all? Why don't we just go out and buy some big ass caps and put them in there? So these big film caps in here are the power supply. And I don't know anybody else has done that yet, but we certainly have. This product is nothing short of extraordinary. From a measurement standpoint, from a sonic standpoint, it goes out well beyond a megahertz. Literally has no noise and no harmonic distortion. So that's something we're very proud of. The phono stage that I had talked about, which you can see out in the other room that we had hidden out there, the phono stage is, to my knowledge, certainly in the 51 years of building phono stages, is the first one we have ever had that has zero global feedback. And what does that mean? And I've talked about this before, and I've been, hey JJ, how you doing? Good, a familiar face. I've talked about this before, and thankfully, because of YouTube, I've been ridiculed more than a few times, which I just think is lovely. And that is and most people have not had it. The first time I ever had it was with Harry Pearson at his home. And this is the rare occurrence when the surface noise, the ticks, the pops, and all the stuff that you have on a record are completely isolated from the music. It sits on a different layer. It is completely separate, and most people have never heard that. And when you hear it, you can't forget it, and you can't live without it. And Stan and I worked for years trying to get there, and we would get closer and closer, and the way we would do it is by lowering the global feedback, because for whatever reason, the surface noise stimulates in the feedback, whether it's TIM or SID, it stimulates that whole surface effect. And if you get rid of it, and then can figure out how to get rid of the noise and the distortion at the same time, you have something that is simply remarkable. Lastly, what I want to talk, maybe we could bring the DAC? Yeah. So, as many of you know, DirectStream has been just a remarkable DAC. I'm sure a number of you already own DirectStreams, and they are remarkable DACs. And one of the things about the DirectStream DAC is how it works and what it does. It takes any signal in, whether it's PCM or DSD, it upsamples it to DSD 256, which is 256 times faster than a CD, and it produces DSD, which is pulse density modulation. It's just a single ones and zeros. And then we just put that through a low-pass filter, we amplify it, we put it through an output transformer, and out she goes. And it's about as close to analog as you've been able to get. Now that system didn't measure all that well, but it sounded amazing. So when Doug came to us and he said, why don't we rethink how we do this? Why don't we keep the same idea, but rethink the whole thing? And what came out of that is called PureStream. And you can see right here, this is a PureStream module. Now this takes any input signal, it raises it up to 8 times so DSD 512, which is double the speed of what DirectStream had. And then it goes into here. And in here you can see these little modules. This is what Doug brought into it, and we're calling it SpectraWave. So it's a sequencer, it's a SpectraWave sequencer, which basically takes that output, does all this magic stuff to it. It's kind of like a digital filter.
It does not break the laws of physics.
And it does not break the laws of physics, but we try. And what comes out of it is measures extraordinarily low distortion and noise, completely direct coupled. It goes through a simple low-pass filter out through this amazing output stage, and when you hear it, I think you're going to be pretty stunned. So that's what this big deal was all about. It's introducing the PMG Signature Series, and these are shipping out, by the way. The preamp will ship in June, DAC ships in July, transport right here ships in, what comes after July? August! And the phono stage in September. So anyway, any questions? Price? Okay, well, we had now let me just, if I want you to look at what Scott's holding here. This is an 1.5 inch thick front panel, machined. You can see the nice PS wave on it. Chassis within a chassis. I mean, the size of that transformer. Let's take some guesses. What do you think? We know there's a starting point. DirectStream was $8,000. So who wants to make a guess? Anybody?
12. 10 or 12.
12? 10?
4.
1 billion. Oh, I like it. Sold. Anybody else?
1 Bitcoin.
8,000. Oh, wow. I wish we could do that. But you're close. So we are able to get these out, at least the first few hundred. Who God only knows what's going to happen outside. Now, it is made in the US, but you know, we are a global economy, whether anybody likes it or not. So for now, and we might have to do commodity pricing, right? This week it's going to be this much, but all these units will sell for $8,500. So we were able to get the pricing down, and it took a Herculean effort. I mean, Alex, who does all of our logistics and purchasing, was able to figure out how to get this chassis built right down the street from us for an extraordinary price. And that was all part of the key. Doug's ideas and Bob's ideas on how to make all of this work and not break the bank on that. So we're really thrilled. So yeah, $84.99, you know. Yeah.
Whose transport are you using? And what's going to be the
Well, so okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Not good. So Marantz, and they are the last manufacturers of the SACD drive, and they have announced that they are stopping manufacturing. So we made a last purchase with Marantz, and we've got, I don't know, 200 or 300 of them. And when those are gone, it's over. So this is, to say this is a limited edition oh, and one other thing I wanted to bring up about that I forgot. Inside of the PMG DAC is a brand new streamer, and it's built in as part of the price. And it is extraordinary sounding, DSD, and you'll hear it here. But that little board in the back hooks right up. It's our programming genius, Barry, figured out a way even to, it's really cool, to hook it up to Wi-Fi. You go to the touch screen here. See these screens, you can, that's how you control the volume on them. You hit a button and it puts a QR code on the screen, you hook your phone up to it, boom, you're on Wi-Fi. I mean, it's that easy without a hassle. So all kinds of good stuff to make it easy. Streamers built into it. You can, as soon as Qobuz, the big secret, of course, Qobuz has their app coming out, but we're not supposed to say anything, so we won't. But when it comes out, it'll be ready to go. So any other questions? Would you like to hear something? Do we do DSD? I don't. I'm trying to think what those things mean. What
MQA.
No. I always have this itch here. It's just.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. No MQA. No, I think those days are long over. But thank you, Jason. Yeah.
Is this going to be sound breaker, or is this going to be something above what we have now?
Oh, it is so far above what you have right now. I'm still boggled by how much better this is. When you combine the preamp and the DAC, for instance, just those two, it's extraordinary. It is a remarkable change. It's not just a little step up.
One little
Yeah.
extra comment. So we're going to have analog sound
Yep.
with range.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. You had a question?
I had a question. You have a lot of speakers here. They're made in China, right?
Yep.
What's the price going to go up? Or what's going to go down?
You tell me. I mean, right now, what is the tariffs? 100%?
Well, how would that affect your prices now, though? Like on the FR30s.
Well, so the FR30s are like 30 grand. You can tell in our thing, we're really clever. The FR20s are like 20 grand. The FR10s are 10 grand. We're going to do our best, but obviously if we have to pay double for it, it's not going to go up to 60,000. I mean, what we will try and do is, aside from praying at night that he gets his act together, we'll raise it enough to cover the extra cost, and we'll eat the rest of it. I mean, we're not going to make more profit on it, but we'll raise it up enough so that we don't start losing money on them, because that's not a good business practice. Over the years, I've learned that.
Universal remote?
Oh, yes, thank you for bringing that out. So it is extra. It doesn't just come. So there's our standard cheap-ass giveaway remote is this, and it works just fine. But this little beauty is going to be available, and we're just finishing it. It currently doesn't work, but we're close. So, yeah, doesn't it? Well, I mean, one of the things, and we got the DVLA has that big, and it's just so nice, because picking that thing up and deciding which of the 100 buttons to push, this is just nice. What do you mostly do, right? You turn the volume up and down. Maybe you start the track or you stop the track. So yeah, we'll have this. It's beautifully machined. I don't know what the price is going to be. We'll keep it as low as we can. And you only need one, and it'll work the entire system. It's all RF. This whole system is RF. So those are now RF, no more IR. So you can point it backwards, and it works fine. Anybody else? Well, yes and no. So the PureStream engine is not DSD based. It's magic stuff going on in there. The SpectraWave is FPGA based. So the SpectraWave sequencer, there's 2 big FPGAs in there, and everything runs through those, and we do all the magic on it. Unlike DirectStream, though, we won't have updates. There won't be software updates. I mean, it just does what it does. And the FPGAs are there because all the magic that's going on in there it's the stuff that needs to be programmed. So lots and lots of programming. I mean, we've been working on this for years now. It's taken a lot of engineering time.
Was TestNet involved with the DAC?
No. Nope. This is a Doug and a Bob project. So, and Bob now has less hair than he did as he's been pulling it out. It was hard. It was a very tough project to try and keep.
Revs to get it to where it is today.
Yeah.
Took 6 spins to get it to work the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, there's we have our digital lens technology in there where we reclock everything, and I don't know how many reclocking stages there are, but
You don't want to know.
yeah. You don't want to know. I think that's a really good answer. Well, maybe we should play something. Yeah. You can hit the button. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it plays. Now I'm going to move out of the way.